The email confirming that Jennifer Hayes had just landed a $700 million pharmaceutical contract sat unopened in her inbox, buried under junk mail, while outside her bedroom window, her husband Derek was throwing her clothes, her mother's jewelry box, and her college diplomas into the February snow, laughing as his mistress Brittany recorded everything on her phone. Jennifer, her plus-size body shaking in the doorway, clutched the divorce papers he'd just handed her, papers she never saw coming after 12 years of marriage, papers that legally cut her off from everything they'd built together. Derek had no idea that the fat wife he was humiliating, the woman whose life he was tossing into the yard in front of shocked neighbors, had spent the last 3 years quietly developing a cancer treatment protocol that could change modern medicine forever, and that the joint bank account he'd emptied that morning, every dollar gone to pay for his wedding to Brittany next month, felt like the final slap in the face. But what Jennifer did after that would turn her from the mocked, abandoned wife into someone Derek never dreamed she could become. Would Derek realize what he'd just thrown away before it was too late? Would Brittany's cruel giggles die in her throat once Jennifer's true worth could no longer be ignored? And what exactly was written in that unread email that would flip Jennifer's worst day into her greatest weapon? Jennifer Hayes watched her wedding album land in a pile of snow, its white leather cover already soaking through, the careful calligraphy of their names bleeding into a blur. She stood in the doorway of the colonial house she'd helped pay for with her pharmaceutical research salary, her soft body shivering not just from the cold, but from watching her entire life being ripped apart in front of her. Derek moved like a man on a mission, his fit body lifting box after box with ease, his face twisted with something close to joy as he hurled her belongings into the yard. "Derek, please," Jennifer managed, her voice breaking, "can we just talk about this?" That was when Brittany stepped forward, her slim frame wrapped in the cashmere coat Jennifer had admired so many times in shop windows but never bought for herself. The younger woman's perfect face hardened with disgust as she gathered spit in her mouth and let it fall right at Jennifer's feet. The spit landed on Jennifer's worn house slippers, and Derek's laughter cut through the winter air, sharp and mean. "Talk," Derek mocked as he lifted another box. "Talk about what, Jen? Look at you, really look at yourself." He waved a hand at her body like it offended him. "I've been pretending for years," he went on. "Pretending I didn't notice how you let yourself go. Pretending I didn't cringe every time we went out in public. Pretending I didn't hate touching you." Jennifer's hand moved to her stomach, instinctively covering it. She'd put on weight after her second miscarriage 5 years ago, and then even more after the third. Derek had sworn her size didn't matter, had held her while she cried, had promised they would get through it together. But standing there now, watching him destroy everything while Brittany's hand rested proudly on his shoulder, Jennifer understood those promises had already been lies. "I gave you 12 years, Jennifer whispered, tears freezing on her cheeks. "I worked 2 jobs to get you through business school. I backed your startup when everyone said it would fail. You were convenient," Derek cut in, his handsome face cold in the pale light. "Your salary was convenient, this house was convenient, but convenience isn't enough anymore, Jen. Brittany makes me feel alive. She's beautiful, successful, and she actually takes care of herself." Brittany smiled proudly, running manicured fingers through her highlighted hair. She was everything Jennifer wasn't: thin, polished, openly confident in her sexiness. At 28, she was 8 years younger than Jennifer and worked as Derek's executive assistant at the tech company Jennifer's money had helped him build. "The divorce papers are solid," Derek continued, tossing Jennifer's childhood teddy bear into the snow without a second thought. "My lawyer handled everything. Clean break. You get nothing from the business, it's in my name. The house goes on the market tomorrow. And that joint account?" He pulled out his phone and turned the screen toward her, showing a balance of 0. "Already moved it to my personal account this morning. Think of it as payment for pretending to be attracted to you for 10 years. Jennifer's legs almost gave out. That account had held $43,000, her emergency money, her safety net, her backup plan if things ever got bad. She had built it slowly, carefully, over years. Now it was gone. That's illegal, Jennifer said, her voice suddenly stronger. That's marital money. You can't just. Derek's smile turned vicious. I already did. Take me to court if you want. We both know you can't afford a lawyer who can beat mine. You're broke, Jennifer. You'll be homeless tomorrow. Alone. The offices of Victoria Martinez, attorney at law, took up the top 3 floors of a downtown tower, glass walls, chrome details, and that deep, heavy quiet that came from thick carpets and serious money. Jennifer sat in a leather chair that probably cost more than her entire ruined wardrobe, staring out at the city through floor-to-ceiling windows. She'd spent the night at a hotel after Derek kicked her out, met with the NIH team that morning, and now, still riding the surreal feeling of watching her life fall apart and rebuild at the same time, she was ready to make Derek's betrayal very, very expensive. Victoria Martinez was exactly what Jennifer had hoped to find: sharp eyes, flawless suit, and a smile that suggested she enjoyed taking down men who thought their wives were weak. She sat across from Jennifer now, skimming the divorce papers Derek had served her, a hint of amusement in her expression. This is embarrassing, Victoria said, tapping the document with a perfect nail. Your husband's lawyer is either lazy or your husband hid a lot from him. No mention of intellectual property. No review of how each of you contributed to marital assets. And the split he's offering? Honestly insulting. She looked up. Tell me everything. Jennifer did. She explained the 12 years of marriage, the nights she'd worked 2 jobs to pay for Derek's business school, the way she'd funded his first tech startup while he chased his dreams, the miscarriages, the weight gain, and how his comments had turned colder and meaner over the last 2 years. Then she told her about Brittany. About the emptied joint account. About how he'd thrown her belongings into the snow while their neighbors filmed. About the wedding invitation designed just to hurt her. Victoria's face grew harder with every detail, but when Jennifer mentioned the $700 million contract, the lawyer's eyes lit up. And this contract is based on your own research? Victoria asked. Work you did separately from your job at MedCorp? Yes, Jennifer said. I own the intellectual property. I developed the protocol on my own time with my own tools. MedCorp has no claim on it. I made sure from day one. So this is completely separate property, Victoria said slowly. Legally, yes, Jennifer replied. Then she hesitated. But early on, about 5 years ago, I used around $15,000 from our joint savings to buy some lab equipment and materials. That was before I realized how big this could be and separated everything. Victoria's smile sharpened. Even better. Now we can argue that his marital assets helped fund the early stages of your protocol, which technically gives him a possible claim, except he just threw away any right to marital property when he stole from your joint account and tried to cheat you in the divorce. She leaned forward. Jennifer, by the time I'm finished with Derek, he'll wish he had treated you like the rare asset you are instead of tossing you aside. I don't want his company, Jennifer said quickly. I don't want anything that's his. I just want what belongs to me, and I want him to understand what he did. Oh, he'll understand, Victoria replied. Here's the plan. First, we file a counterpetition. Then we document every stolen dollar from that joint account, every item he destroyed, and every pattern of financial abuse. After that, we make sure every cent you invested in his education and business is accounted for with interest. You kept receipts. Jennifer slid a folder across the desk. Inside were bank statements, tuition records, business loan documents with her name as co-signer, proof of every sacrifice she'd made while Derek was falling in love with his assistant. Victoria flipped through the pages, clearly pleased. This is excellent. And the public scene outside your house, you said it was recorded? It's already online, Jennifer said, her throat tight. Mrs. Patterson's daughter posted it on TikTok. Last I checked, it had 60,000 views. Perfect, Victoria said. The judge is going to adore your husband. She closed the folder and looked Jennifer straight in the eye. I need to ask you something. And I need the truth. What do you really want out of this? Revenge? Justice? A payout? Because each one leads us down a slightly different path. Pictured Derek's face while he called her disgusting. Brittany spitting at her feet. 12 years of love and loyalty repaid with public cruelty and a mocking wedding invitation. I want him to know, Jennifer said slowly, that he made the biggest mistake of his life. I want him lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, fully aware of what he threw away. But more than that. She paused, feeling her thoughts settle into something clear. More than that, I want to walk into that wedding and show him I never needed him. That everything he's proud of, his business, his money, his status, is nothing compared to what I've built. I want him to see me and realize he was punching way above his league the entire time. Victoria's smile turned warm for the first time. Then we'll make sure you have exactly what you need for that moment. But I need you to understand something too. The best revenge isn't making him regret losing you. It's reaching a point where he doesn't even matter anymore because your life is so full and good without him. Are you ready for that? To truly move on and build something new? I already started, Jennifer said, and she meant it. The divorce, the humiliation. It hurts. But it also forced me to finally see myself clearly. I've been shrinking myself for Derek for years, apologizing for my body, my ambitions, just existing. I'm done. The contract, the research, the future, that's all me. Derek was just noise I mistook for a partner. Good, Victoria said briskly, pulling more documents from her folder. Here's what happens now. 1. We file the counter-petition and an injunction to freeze all marital assets. That means Derek can't move money or sell the house. 2. A forensic accountant will go through everything you two have ever paid for together. 3. I'll need you to list every way you contributed to his education and his company. And 4. She tilted her head, thinking. 4. We don't mention your NIH contract to him or his lawyer until the perfect moment. Because the look on his face when he finds out what you're actually worth. That's going to be priceless. Over the next 3 hours, Jennifer signed forms, answered questions, and watched Victoria lay out a strategy that would crush Derek's plan to walk away with everything. The lawyer dug into details Jennifer had never even considered: whose name was on what, who signed which loans, and what verbal promises had been made over the years. He'll be served tomorrow, Victoria said as they finished. Expect him to be furious. He thought you'd roll over and accept whatever he threw at you. When he realizes you're fighting, he'll probably try to scare you. He might send nasty messages, have Brittany call you, or try to turn friends against you. Are you ready for that? My real friends already know what he did, Jennifer replied. They're disgusted. Anyone who isn't. Well, now I know where they stand. And at work? Does Derek know anything about your research? He knows I work in pharma, but he never asked for details. He always said my job was boring and changed the topic whenever I talked about it. A familiar sting rose in Jennifer's chest, then quickly turned to anger. He had no idea what I was doing or why it mattered. He never cared enough to find out. Keep it that way, Victoria said. For now, your biggest advantage is that he thinks you're helpless. Let him and Brittany plan their perfect wedding, feel smug about putting you in the front row to watch them. And then. Her smile sharpened again. Then you show up and let reality speak for you. Jennifer walked out of the law office feeling something she hadn't felt in a very long time: hope. Not hope that Derek would change or that they'd get back together, but hope for a completely different life that had nothing to do with him. On her way back to the hotel, she stopped at a boutique not to buy a dress for the wedding just yet, but to finally get something she'd always wanted and never allowed herself to own because Derek would have complained about the price or how it looked on her. She chose a deep blue cashmere sweater, soft, warm, expensive, and not practical at all. When she put it on in the fitting room, she stared at her reflection. She didn't see the fat wife Derek had thrown away. She saw a woman who had survived public humiliation, stood up for herself, and was still here. Still breathing. Still dangerous in ways Derek had never cared to notice. The woman in the mirror had soft curves, tired eyes, and the beginning of smile lines, and she was tied to a $700 million contract, not because of her looks, but because of her mind and her years of work. Jennifer bought the sweater and wore it out of the store. Then she returned to her hotel room and began to plan. She had 3 weeks until the wedding, 3 weeks to finalize her NIH contract, secure her lab, and prepare for the day Derek would finally see what he'd thrown away when he chose to toss her life into the snow. Derek called at 2 a.m., 2 days after he was served with the counterpetition. His voice on the phone was shaking with rage. Jennifer, expecting the call, sat up in bed and put him on speaker, quietly recording. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" Derek yelled. "An injunction? You froze my accounts. I have a wedding to pay for." "Actually, you have a wedding to cancel," Jennifer replied calmly. "Unless Victoria tells me otherwise, you can't afford it anymore." "That joint account you robbed? That's theft, Derek. You stole marital funds." "It was my money. I earned it," he snapped. "Really?" Jennifer said. "Because our forensic accountant found that over the 12 years we were married, I contributed about 68% more to our finances than you did. Want the spreadsheets? Victoria has plenty." Silence. Jennifer could practically feel him struggling to process that. "You can't do this," he said finally. "I'm marrying Brittany next month. Invitations are out. The venue is booked. You're just jealous and trying to ruin it because you can't stand that I'm happy." "I'm doing this because you broke the law," Jennifer corrected. "You emptied our joint account without my consent, destroyed my belongings, and tried to force me into a divorce that left you with everything and me with nothing. Did you really think I wouldn't fight back?" "You're broke," Derek shouted. "You can't afford a shark like Victoria Martinez. How are you even paying for her?" In the dark hotel room, Jennifer smiled. This was the moment she'd been waiting for, the first tiny crack in his certainty. "That's what's funny, Derek," she said softly. "You were married to me for 12 years and you still don't know what I'm capable of. You never asked about my work. You never cared about my research. You never listened to anything I said about my projects. You just saw boring, fat, easy to replace. That was your first mistake." "What are you talking about?" He sounded different now, less sure, more nervous. "You'll find out," Jennifer said, her tone light. "For now, enjoy those frozen accounts and your expensive lawyer trying to explain to the judge why you thought you could rob your wife and walk away smiling. Oh, and Derek? About that wedding invitation?" She paused, letting the silence stretch. "I'm still coming. I wouldn't miss it." She hung up before he could answer, her heart pounding, but not from fear. From adrenaline. From finally standing up for herself. After years of shrinking, it felt almost addictive. Less than an hour later, Brittany called. Jennifer almost let it go to voicemail, but curiosity led her to swipe accept. "You bitter cow," Brittany hissed immediately. "You're ruining Derek's life because you can't handle that he traded up. Drop the lawsuit and stop embarrassing yourself. Nobody wants you. You're fat, pathetic, and the more you fight, the worse you look." "That's an interesting take," Jennifer said evenly. "Tell me, Brittany, does Derek know you were still sleeping with your ex, Marcus, while you started sleeping with him? Because I have screenshots of those messages. Should I send them to Derek, or would you like the honors? The silence that followed was thick and shaky. Jennifer hadn't been sure those screenshots from a mutual friend would ever be useful. Now she knew. You're bluffing, Brittany said, but her voice was unsteady. Maybe, Jennifer replied. Maybe not. If you want to test me, keep calling me names and see what happens. Or, and this is wild, I know you could step back and let Derek face the consequences of his own choices. She smiled to herself. Either way, I'll see you at the wedding. Don't forget my front row seat. Jennifer hung up, blocked both of their numbers, and set her phone down. She was done giving them easy access to her peace. They'd had their chance to use her as a punching bag. Now they'd have to deal with consequences. The next 2 weeks were a blur, but the kind that felt productive instead of chaotic. Jennifer met with the NIH team and signed the initial contract paperwork. She toured 3 different lab spaces and chose one in a brand new research building with huge windows and top-tier equipment. She hired 2 brilliant new PhDs as her first research assistants. They practically lit up when she explained her protocol. She opened new bank accounts in her name only. She bought a car not flashy, but reliable and fully hers. She found an apartment, a lovely 2-bedroom with a small balcony and a view of the river. It wasn't massive or over the top, but every inch of it belonged to her. She signed the lease, moved her few remaining things in, and started turning the empty rooms into a home. A real one. A safe one. Victoria called nearly every day with updates. The forensic accountant had found shady withdrawals and hidden expenses in Derek's business records, money he'd been quietly siphoning to fund his life with Brittany. The judge had not only kept the injunction on their assets but had also ordered Derek to return the stolen money plus penalties back to the marital account. Derek's lawyer kept trying to push for a quick settlement, but Victoria wasn't interested in rushing. He's panicking, she told Jennifer during one call. He knows you're hiding something big. He just can't figure out what. It's eating him alive that you're not begging, crying, or crawling back. Good, Jennifer said. Let him sweat. How's the wedding planning on his end? She asked a moment later. From what I've seen in his emails, Victoria said, the venue wants full payment by Friday or they're canceling. His accounts are still restricted. Brittany's family can't cover the cost. He's trying to borrow from friends and business partners, but word of the lawsuit is spreading. Investors don't like men who steal from their wives and humiliate them online. His reputation is taking a hit. So is the wedding still on? For now, yes, Victoria answered. He scraped together enough for a stripped-down version. Smaller venue, cheaper food, no live band. It's this Sunday. Are you still going? Jennifer looked at the dress hanging neatly in her closet. She'd chosen it carefully, a classy, perfectly tailored piece that fit her body as it was. It didn't scream revenge body or try to hide her curves. It just made her look powerful and put together. She paired it with simple diamond jewelry from her grandmother, a quiet kind of wealth and strength that Derek had never understood. I'll be there, Jennifer said. Front row. Just like they wanted. Sunday morning arrived cold and clear, winter clinging to the air one last time before spring. Jennifer stood in front of her mirror, adjusting her dress one final time. She'd taken her time with her makeup, hired a stylist to come to her apartment, and she looked like a woman reborn. Her hair was styled into soft waves that framed her face, her makeup highlighted her eyes and cheekbones, and the dress perfectly tailored skimmed her curves like it had been made for her. She didn't look like a revenge fantasy. She looked like someone who had found herself again. Before leaving, Jennifer opened her laptop and sent 2 final emails, one to the NIH confirming her start date, and one to her new research team with Monday's agenda. Her future was solid. Centered. Bright. She slid on her heels, grabbed her grandmother's diamond earrings, and stepped out into the cold morning air with a calmness that surprised even her. The venue, a downgraded banquet hall Derek had been forced to settle for, looked bleak under the winter sun. Gone were the chandeliers, the orchids, the string quartet. Instead, clusters of folding chairs, cheap tablecloths, and discount flowers tried desperately to disguise the financial struggle behind the event. Jennifer walked in through the front entrance, head high. Every conversation in the lobby stopped. She could feel eyes scanning her neighbors, old friends, Derek's colleagues. And she recognized the look instantly: shock. Not because she was thinner. Not because she was a new person. But because she had an aura, calm, powerful, unbothered, that they'd never seen in her before. A few people whispered, "Is that Jennifer? She looks incredible." "I heard Derek and Brittany drained the joint account." "No, she froze his accounts. She's taking him to court." Jennifer walked past them with a small smile. Derek saw her before she saw him. He was standing near the altar in a too-tight tuxedo he clearly hadn't been able to replace yet. His hair wasn't perfectly styled, and the stress bags under his eyes were impossible to miss. The moment he saw Jennifer, his jaw literally dropped. His hand mid-gesture while speaking to his best man froze. Jennifer didn't rush. She took slow, even steps to her designated seat, front row, center, alone, unbothered. Just the way Brittany wanted. Except Brittany had never expected Jennifer to look like this. Brittany emerged from a side room in her cheap lace wedding dress, adjusting the straps every few seconds because they wouldn't stay in place. The dress, clearly rushed and poorly tailored, looked even worse when she saw Jennifer. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted. And for a moment, just a moment, her perfect composure cracked. She whispered something to her maid of honor. The woman glanced at Jennifer, winced, and nodded. Derek kept staring. Not with disgust. Not with superiority. But with something Jennifer had never seen in him before. A strange mixture of regret and disbelief. Jennifer didn't look away. The officiant began speaking. Guests shuffled in their seats. Everything looked fine on the surface, but there was tension. A thick, suffocating tension that everyone felt but no one spoke about. Then, halfway through the vows, a man in a dark suit slipped quietly into the venue and approached Jennifer. She recognized him instantly. The NIH liaison. "What are you doing here?" Jennifer whispered. He smiled calmly. "Your phone was off. We need your signature on one document to finalize funding, and since I recognized the wedding venue name from your email, I thought I'd drop by." Derek's head snapped toward them. He paused during his vow. "That's rude," Brittany hissed at him. "Why are you looking at her?" But Derek couldn't help it. Victoria Martinez slipped in right behind the liaison. Calm. Elegant. Holding a thick envelope. Jennifer's lawyer. She handed the envelope to Jennifer with a small nod. "This," she whispered, "is everything we talked about. It's ready." Jennifer slid the signed NIH document inside her clutch. Derek was no longer listening to the officiant. "What the hell is going on?" The officiant cleared his throat. Shall we continue?" But Derek kept staring at Jennifer. "Jennifer," he said loudly. "Why is a federal liaison here? What's in that envelope?" Gasps echoed across the hall. Brittany grabbed Derek's arm. "Babe, focus. You're marrying me." But Derek couldn't. He stepped toward Jennifer. "Jennifer. Tell me." She didn't stand up. She didn't look rattled. She simply reached into her clutch and handed him another paper tucked behind the attorney envelope. Her NIH contract summary sheet. The one showing the contract amount in bold black letters. $700 million. Derek froze. Brittany stared. The room went silent. You got this? Derek stammered. You. Jennifer. She looked at him with calm clarity. Yes. Me. How? When? While you were calling me useless. Brittany ripped the paper from Derek's hand. This has to be fake. Victoria stepped forward smoothly. It's not. And by the way, Derek, your court date has been moved up. And you will be required to explain how you drained the joint account while your wife was securing a multi-hundred-million-dollar federal contract. The crowd started whispering again. Wait, Jennifer funded his business. He cheated on her. Oh, he's finished. Derek's face went pale. Jennifer. Jen, can we talk? Please. His voice cracked. Outside. Brittany's eyes widened. Derek? Are you serious? But Derek wasn't listening. His gaze was locked on Jennifer like he was only now realizing who she truly was. Jennifer stood slowly. The room held its breath. She walked toward Derek, stopped just an arm's length away, and said clearly enough for everyone to hear. Once, I would have died for a chance to fix things with you. But that woman doesn't exist anymore. You destroyed her. You humiliated her. You stole from her. And you mocked her body. Derek swallowed hard. Jennifer continued. You thought you were trading up. But you were trading down. Far, far down. I hope you two find whatever happiness you can in the ruins you created together. Derek reached out as if to touch her arm. Jennifer stepped back. No. Her voice was firm. You don't get to touch me anymore. Brittany lost control. Derek. Are you seriously choosing her over me right now? Derek looked between them helplessly. Jennifer turned to Brittany with a soft, almost kind expression. I don't need to choose anything. You already have him. And now you get to keep him with no money, no house, and a lawsuit hanging over his head. Brittany's face twisted in horror. What? Derek, what is she talking about? Derek muttered, There were some financial issues. Jennifer cut in gently. Derek can explain. He's good at pretending. A guest in the crowd muttered, This is better than TV. Another whispered, He deserves all of this. Jennifer walked toward the exit, the room silently parting for her like she was royalty. She didn't rush. She didn't look back. At the door, she paused, turned slightly, and said, Oh, and Derek? You should probably call your lawyer. Victoria's filing the next set of documents tomorrow. It won't be pretty. Then she left. Into the sunlight. Into her new life. Into a future where she didn't shrink to fit anyone else's expectations. A future where her brilliance, not her body, defined her value. And behind her, inside that cheap wedding hall, Derek's world continued to collapse.